Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and I am just giving a quick blog here to update you on something I'm really excited about, which is that this week I'm going to be going to the Reacting to the Past Game Development Conference at Cabrini College, which is basically near Philadelphia. I'm super excited to go because Reacting to the Past is a series I've covered a couple of times on my podcast. Basically, it is a series where students are role-playing as various historical figures, and they are trying to reach their own objectives in historically valid ways, doing research to roleplay effectively, and basically learning about different aspects of history. So there are reacting games set in multiple time periods. There are a whole bunch of them now. And the Game Development Conference is basically a place where people are going to play test different games that are going to be eventually published as full, reacting games. So I'm really excited about this. I can't wait to see what's going to come out of all of this. And I'm actually going to be playtesting 3 of them this week, and that's going to require a lot of research. So I don't want to give away too much, but I'm going to talk about who I'm going to be in these games, what the games are, and kind of first impressions, and then I'm going to touch base after the conference and tell y'all what I learned. I'm also the keynote speaker, so I don't know anything about reacting games, but I know things about games in the classroom and historical gaming, so I'll get to hopefully share something useful with these people who are kindly letting me test out their games. So one of the games I'm playing is called Reform or Revolution, Britain in the 1840s. And I find this hilarious because I just watched Mr. Malcolm's List, and the Corn Laws are in the notes for this game. And if you've watched Mr. Malcolm's List as well, you will also find this funny. Go watch it. It's a cute movie. But basically, it's a game that's going to cover the politics and ideology of the Victorian era. And we're going to... Each participant in the game is going to be role-playing as someone who was an important player in the era and who has goals of their own. So I'm really tickled by the role I'm going to be playing because I think it'll be one that's a natural fit for me, sort of. I don't know. I'll be playing Joseph Fletcher. So this guy, probably politically, I wouldn't have agreed with him about a lot of things, but he has a special interest in his education reform. So basically, I'm going to be campaigning for universal primary education, but I don't want it to be directed by aristocrats. I want it to be directed and inspected by yours truly. So my goal for this game is going to be to advance support for education and also advance my role as somebody who should have a lot of power over how it gets implemented in 1840s Britain. So there's some people who I'm going to be allies with, but also will have opposing goals. There's an aristocrat that I might be able to join with for political purposes, but he might try to take over this whole ride, and I can't let him do that and still be satisfied with what happens. Philosophically and politically, I'm a utilitarian in this game, so I'll be trying to embody what that means as we play. And my role sheet gave me a lot of perspectives that I might or might not have about various issues that'll help me get a hint. And there are things that maybe I don't care about, but I can, throw somebody else a bone to try to get them to do what I want them to do in exchange. So I have 4 objectives. 3 of them are ways for me to kind of win or have a more powerful victory, and the 4th one is a loss condition, actually. So my main goal is to secure the passage through Parliament of a comprehensive national education system that provides universal primary education. And that's the main goal. What I'm going to want to do, however, is make sure that the law appoints school inspectors and that I'm the boss of those, to the greatest extent possible. I'm supposed to emphasize the need for experts to help craft policy throughout this game. So I'm also going to be pushing for national commissions to oversee this educational system, preferably commissions that I'm involved in, of course. Depending on who's in the game, I'm supposed to persuade some people to join the utilitarian faction with me, and that's a big deal. And then I will absolutely lose if there's a socialist-inspired working-class revolution in England. So I want some good things for the people, but they can't have it all, because where would I be? So I'm really looking forward to trying this. I think it's going to be exciting and super fun. What a cool topic. I'm also going to be playtesting a game called Algeria in Flames, and it's about the Franco-Algerian conflict in the 50s and 60s. So that is the 1950s and 60s. So this is a totally different time period, totally different conflict. I don't know a lot about it, and well, I suppose that'll be fun. So in this game, I'm going to be playing as Joseph Joey Ortiz, and I'm basically someone with very conservative views who has helped agitate and lead riots at various points throughout this conflict, and I also am a friendly, chatty bar owner who tries to be a mover and shaker through that venue. So one of the objectives of this game for me is to stay alive, because it's going to get a little rough. But I also want Algeria to remain French, and that is my goal. I want the settlers to remain in power in Algeria because that's me. And so I'm definitely a bad guy in this game, at least in my viewpoint, that is anti-colonial, but I'm going to have to embody somebody with colonialist views who wants to hang on to power in order to win this game and fully participate. So I'm kind of excited about what that's going to feel like. I think that that's one of the values of reacting to the past, is that it offers you a chance to step into shoes that you would never step into normally. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. However, if Algeria becomes independent or if settlers have to share power in Algeria, then I will lose the game. And so basically the other one had some more... So basically this is much more of a zero-sum game than the other game that I just mentioned that I'm playtesting. I have fewer win-loss conditions and it's much more stark. Stay alive, stay in power, or lose power or die. And then there's some complexity stats. So there's some relationships and strategy considerations that are provided on my roll sheet that I'm excited about. But I have a much more specific goal in this one. I mean, I have a specific goal for educational purposes as Fletcher, but as Ortiz, it's a much starker, like there's less room to compromise when it's like, no, I'm not sharing power at all, as opposed to, I'm going to work with you, but you have to make me the inspector. So I think it'll be a really different vibe for this game. And then the third game I'm playtesting is maybe the one I'm really most excited about. It's called 1492, the year that forged Spain. And basically it is about Muslim powers leaving Granada and Isabel and Ferdinand taking over and exercising this new power that they have. And I have a really interesting role in this and I'm super excited to play. So I don't have her name memorized yet, but my full name is going to be Fatima bint Muhammad al-Nasriya al-Hura. So I'm going to be the Queen Dowager of Granada, and I'm going to be trying to steer my son, whose political career I have supported for a long time, including getting my husband to step down so he could step in there. Basically, I'm going to be trying to keep the door open for him to come back into Granada at a future time and take over what we're losing. I'm going to be trying to maintain at least some property ownership under my nobility and my supporters in Granada, even though the Spaniards are going to want to try to kick us all out. And I'm also going to be trying to basically just negotiate terms that are as favorable for my son and for my faction as possible. In addition to that, I'm also going to have to be protective of my Islamic faith because, you know, we're going to be dealing with Christians who want to put us down and do as much religious damage to us as possible as well. So I'm actually really curious about how this is going to go. I have several different objectives. This game's like a little spicier than the other two from what I can tell, and I'm really curious about how it's going to play out. I think it'll be sad that we're only play testing and not going further because I'm kind of pumped about it. So I have several objectives. One of them is to prevent my son from signing any treaty that bars him from returning with an army to Granada because I'm trying to leave that door open for future reconquest. I'm also going to be trying to prevent Muslims from being forced to leave Granada or to give up their property as part of a treaty. So I want to protect my supporters and my fellow Muslims who still live in this area. I also have a bonus objective where there will be some sort of ceremony where I'm going to try to get people to walk out and protest. And if I succeed at doing that, then I get like bonus points, which sounds hilarious. So I get to try to organize a walkout. And I also have a secret objective where there's other people who have secret objectives. And if I can get someone to reveal their secret to me and then like report it to my faction head, then it's like part of like extra points for me, like more of my victory. So I think that sounds super exciting and funny and like very charming. And I'm just so happy to see something a little more skullduggery oriented in this game because I feel like the others look good, but this one looks like juicy. And I'm very pumped to try it out. It's also going to be interesting because as a woman, I have to be careful about how I participate in the proceedings. There are sexist people who don't want me to exercise too much overt power. So the roll sheet is giving me tips for like how to work backdoors and like the things that I can take charge of and do as part of my quest to help my son. So these are the games that I'm going to be playtesting next week. I'm super excited about it. I'm very curious about how it's going to go. And I really can't wait to update you with interviews with some of the designers and reports from people who play in the same session as me and just, you know, all that good stuff. So stay tuned. I can't wait to report more about this conference and happy gaming, everybody.